Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. It's Greg Fitzsimmons. It is just a few days after 9/11, so we're all still thinking about that 20-year anniversary of a chapter in our history that hopefully we learn from. I mean, Jesus Christ. What did we learn from it? We learned that if you fuck with us, we'll come after not you, but somebody who lives in a country near you who maybe has some oil we want. And we'll sacrifice tens of thousands of our poor young troops and trillions of dollars so that at the end of 20 years we can leave with an entire region of the world fucking hating us, and have shown our allies that we will pull out without protecting the people that helped us while we were there, so they're left to be fucking annihilated by the power that remains, that we were unable to change. We're not nation builders. How many fucking wars do we need until we realize we're not nation builders? All right. Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. What the fuck was that? Whose podcast was that? That's certainly not mine. That's not the way I talk. I'm a 55-year-old dick comedian with a fucking zit on his nose. I'm looking in the Zoom camera right now. I had a hard spot in the middle of my nose, and I knew there was a zit under there, and it took days to emerge. It didn't come out right away. It took its time, and I knew it was going to be big when it came out. And it did. It came out yesterday, and it was white and round. And my wife even came in. I had an audience for the popping of the zit. We knew it was going to be big. And I should have had opening acts. I should have had, like, my daughter do a couple blackheads just to get the crowd going and then come in with this fucking monster. And I worked it from the outside in. I really pressured it till it was really stretched and taut, and then pop, baby, right on the mirror. Hit the fucking mirror like a bukkake shot in some 70s porn. Proud of myself. And then it bled for about 20 minutes. And now I've got a red mark, in case you were wondering. See, that's the difference between a comedian, I guess, and an average person, is that when we get a zit and pop it, we don't hide it with makeup and get embarrassed by it. We celebrate it. We celebrate the zit. I did. So anyway, I thought I'd walk you through my Saturday night before we get into my podcast with my interview with Kevin Pollak, who is a friend and somebody I admire, and I'm so happy he's on the show. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to walk you through a Saturday night for a comedian in Hollywood. What goes on? I did 5. It was September 11th. And so I purposefully booked a lot of shows because I kind of figured this is a loaded night. This is a night where people need to get out and laugh. This is a night I want to be on stage talking about shit. And so I booked 5 shows at 5 different venues and made them all. Didn't miss any of them because that can happen. But I made all 5 of them. And I thought I'd walk you through the night. And first of all, you got to understand something. I never work Saturday nights. If I'm home, that's date night for me and my wife. I'm on the road, every other weekend or so. And so when I am home, Saturday night is date night. But Friday night, we had plans with friends for dinner. And so I switched date night to Friday night. And so Saturday night, I went out and did shows. And then, of course, we get invited by our very good friends to a game night. They're going to play games. They like to play Celebrity. And everybody brings food. And these are all of the women that my wife was friends with when they were her mommy and me group. They were all women from the neighborhood who had babies at the same time as Erin. And they became close friends. And they all happen to be smoking hot. Still are. If you're listening, girls, you're all still hot. They all have very cool husbands that I fucking love, and we have a good time. But anyway, the point is I couldn't go, and my wife's like, "Oh, you're gonna miss it." And as much as I love those people, and I love a good game night, I got to be honest with you. I don't know that there's something else I'd rather do than stand-up comedy on a Saturday night. I love it. I've been doing this shit for 31 years, and I still get a kick out of it, and especially since I think I came out of the gates a little slow when we started doing stand-up again in the spring, as far as writing new material. I had a bunch of stuff about COVID. I probably had 20 minutes on COVID. But guess what? Nobody wants to hear that shit anymore. That 20 minutes is flushed, dead. Throw it in the trash. Nobody wants to go to a comedy club and hear about COVID-19. All right, so that left me with not a lot of new stuff. So the last week, I really buckled down and I started writing a lot of stuff, or the last 2 weeks, and going out and doing it. And when I've got a pocket full of, like, I always have like scraps of paper and shit in my back pocket with jokes on them. And when I have that in my pocket, it's just a better night. So anyway, so it starts off. I'll walk you through the night. I go to the West Side Comedy Theater in Santa Monica, and I walk into the green room, and it's Dana Eagle and Laurie Kilmartin, who I love, two great comics. And Laurie's written on the Conan show forever, and now that show is over. And so we're talking about whether or not we're going to do jokes about September 11th. And so I said, I'm going to do it. And then at the last minute, I literally I was like, you know what? I'm on first. So I'm not fucking with 9/11. So I go, and then before I walked on stage, and I do this sometimes just to challenge myself, I said to them before I walked on stage, I go, all right, so give me a topic for a joke, and I'll open with it. And Kilmartin, being the fucking Irish lunatic she is, goes, September 12th. So I have to go up and do jokes about September 12th. So those went poorly. And I dug myself into a hole that I spent the next 15 minutes getting out of. But it was worth it. It was worth it because I could hear them in the green room laughing at me bombing at the September 12th jokes. So now the show started late, so now I got to jump in the car, and I got to drive 45 minutes from Santa Monica to the heart of Hollywood, Hollywood Boulevard, and on the skankiest part of Hollywood. You know, like where the fucking hands are, where the celebrities' hands are in the cement, the Walk of Fame, right around there. So I've got a Prius, and I drive it. Let me tell you something. I have a Prius, but I drive it like it's a Porsche. So there's a button on a Prius. I don't know if all models have this, but mine does. You push the button, and you lose almost all of the fuel savings and the environmental good to go faster. And I'll tell you what, it's a light-ass car, and it's got a fast engine. It's got quick pickup, and I was darting in between. People are looking at me like, what's with this? What's with the fucking Prius guy? What is he? What's with the angry environmentalist? What is he, late for a fracking demonstration? Where is he headed? Is Tim Robbins having a barbecue tonight? What's with the speeding Prius? And so I get to the show, and sure enough, I'm not late because the show's running late. It's at this place called the Comedy Supernova, and it's an outdoor venue, it's like in a parking lot converted to a theater in the round behind a nightclub. And it's got walls on like 4 sides. It's weird. It's a weird little spot. And it's got theater in the round, and they put up these big screens. I think I've talked about it before. And it works. And they book fucking A-list comics. Like every night you go there, you're on with like, you know, David Spade will be there, and Jesselnick is there, and Sarah Silverman. And so it's just like crazy lineups. And so they get these great crowds that come out. So I sit down at a table in the back with this, should I say her name? I'm not going to say her name, but a famous female comic. I'm sitting at a table in the back with her, and she's pretty miffed because apparently they kept bumping her because it's what they call a tag team style show, which means there's no host, and each comic introduces the next comic. And they keep fucking up the comics, thinking they're bringing up the next person when it's supposed to be her, but it's somebody else. So now she's been sitting there, and she's, I guess people have been crushing and going long. And she starts kind of bad-mouthing all the comics. You know, like Jeff Ross, oh, he just does crowd work. It's like, yeah, he does. He does crowd work. Does pretty fucking good. And, Jim Jeffries went too long. Who the fuck is he? And then Tony Rock was shitting on this hot girl. And who is he? And all this stuff. So anyway, I'm talking to her. I've known her forever. And so I'm talking to her. And I go, you notice there's like crickets in this space. There's literally like, if you listen, you can hear crickets. And I said, I always joke around when I go on here about how I think the producers like planted those crickets here just so that if there's a moment of silence, that you literally hear crickets, that it makes you work harder so you don't hear crickets. So anyway, so I make that joke. And then the next comic is supposed to be her. Once again, Jeff Ross brings up the wrong person. So she runs up on stage and goes on instead of the next comic. And she does her set. And it was kind of like it was sweaty. I would describe the set as sweaty. Like she was nervous that she wasn't doing well when I thought she was actually doing fine. But then all of a sudden she whips out my cricket joke. She starts doing my cricket joke in front of the crowd. And I open with that shit when I walk on there. It's like it's my ace in the hole when I walk on stage. I couldn't fucking believe it. It was crazy. And so I went on stage, then she introduced me and I went on stage and I called her on it. And I told the crowd what she just did. And they didn't like it. They didn't like it. Anyway, so I leave there and I jump back in the Prius and I head off to the Comedy Store. And I get there and I pull up to the parking lot. I jump out of the car and they say, you're late. So I run to the stage and God, I can't remember who brought me up, but somebody good. So I go up and I do my set. It was fun. And I get off stage and the door guy is like sweating. He's like, your key. You didn't leave me your key. And I guess I had left my car and I didn't take my key and I'd shut the car off. And so he I still haven't gotten used to the fob thing with valet parking. Because the back parking lot at the store is literally like a lot. There's an alley that you drive down next to the club. And then there's a lot that holds maybe 20 cars, tops, 15 cars. So you can only park there if you're doing on the show that night because there's 3 different stages. So there's a lot of comics coming in and out. And the door guys are all up-and-coming comedians. They're guys that are all, there's a famous, somebody should write a book about guys that work the door and the parking lot at the store because it's like, Ari Shaffir did it and Marin did it and like a bunch of people have worked there. And so anyway, so I find, and the parking lot is like, it's kind of a big dick contest back there of like the comics that come in, like, Rogan would always have like a Porsche or a classic fucking Mustang. And Ron White has this insane tricked out SUV. Is it tripped out or tricked out? I think it's tricked out. He never drives it home because he fucking drinks, and then a door guy will get in his car and drive it home for him with him in the back. Not the back. I think he sits in the front. And then and Jeff Ross has like he pulled up that night in a like a Batmobile. Literally looks like the Batmobile. That's what he drives around. Tony Hinchcliffe has a brand new Corvette and a license plate that says "I roast." And so, anyway, so I'm there, and then it was nice. Is like I get off stage, and then Owen Smith was on after me, and he's just such a great writer, and he gave me this awesome tagline for one of my jokes. He's like I think he's the showrunner now on Blackish. So he gave me this great tagline, which was awesome. Saw Shane Gillis. He's in town doing some podcasts. I brought up Brad Williams. That's also you bring up the next comic also at the store, and I brought up Brad Williams. They always know who the next comic, if it's going to be Brad Williams, because you have to lower the mic stand as low as it can go as you're doing his intro. So they kind of guess who it is before you say his name. So I leave there, I get back on Sunset Boulevard, and I drive east to a bar show. And it's one of those things where people sometimes hit me up on my website about, will you do this bar? All right, I'll do this bar show. So I go in, and of course, it's chaos. It's a bar. And there's a drunk woman, and she starts heckling me because she doesn't like my joke about trans bathrooms. And so she not only heckles, stands up and heckles. Like she's at a fucking town hall. And so she's drunk, and so I do classic. If they're struggling, wannabe aspiring comics listening, here's how you handle a heckler. You just give them rope. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do for a living? Act like you're their friend. Extract information. And she lets me know that she is from Long Island, and she's in advertising. And I then deconstruct, and then I turn it. I go from gentle to a fucking pit bull, and I lock in on her, and I deconstruct her whole fucking life for her, and what it's been, and what her challenges have been, and where it's headed, and how she'll die alone. And she gets so fucking angry, she throws a drink, and it doesn't hit me. It hits a guy in the front row who starts fucking screaming at her, and the bouncers come, and they drag her out. And then I pretty much and then everybody cheered that she was gone. I did one more joke, killed, got a standing ovation in a bar show, and fucking walked out of there. I think they paid me they paid me $10, which covered the parking lot I had to park in next to the bar. I leave there, I get back in the Prius, and I head off for the Improv, for the late show at the Improv. I was closing that out, and that was fun because it was a great crowd, and Craig Robinson was there, who's a good friend of mine. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I hung out with him after the show. And so we're sitting by, there's like a counter that's inside the bar, but also like you can approach that counter from the sidewalk. And this guy walks up, and very nice guy, and he's like big fan of mine, which is so weird. Usually I sit there with Craig, and everybody comes up to Craig, but this guy instead comes up to me, and he yells Baba Booey, and then he says, I'm a huge fan of yours from Stern over the years, and I love your stand-up, and blah, blah, blah. He was very, very nice guy. And so I thank him, and then he goes, by the way, I'm the new assistant coach for the Clippers. And I want to give you some courtside tickets whenever you want to come to a game. Gives me his fucking cell number and walks away. And I just look at Craig like, I'm sorry, who are you again? Got home at it was probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I got home around 2 o'clock in the morning. I had about $250 cash in my pocket. And it was just a great night. My wife was sound asleep. I don't know how game night went. Who fucking cares about game night? That was my 9/11. How was your 9/11? You can get depressed from things like 9/11. You can get depressed from things like the pandemic. Sometimes you just are depressed, like myself. I am a person with bad genes and depression in the family. And I have gone to therapists my whole life, different ones, with mostly all great experiences. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, which is a company that they sponsor the show, and they offered me a free trial to get a therapist through them. They refer you. And I was referred to somebody who is wildly beyond my dreams, has really helped me get out of a funk that I was in since the pandemic. I don't know if If something's interfering with your happiness or you're not achieving your goals, then I highly suggest you get involved with BetterHelp. My kind of depression, she said to me, she goes, look, talk therapy is not going to solve your depression. It's going to take more than that. I do cognitive behavioral therapy, and so she sends me exercises during the week. She texts me and follows up on stuff. She's like a life coach almost. And that's the thing about BetterHelp is it's not just your 1-hour therapy. They're involved in your life. They assess your needs and match you with their own licensed professional therapist. And it happens within 2 days from you signing up. You'll have somebody. You can do this worldwide because it's weekly video or phone sessions. No waiting rooms, none of that bullshit. And it's also very affordable. I'm doing it on my own dime at this point. They gave me a free trial for a certain period, and then I said, I love this. So I pay out of my pocket. If you have problems affording it, they will work with you. Financial aid is available, but it is much more affordable than traditional therapy, which is why I would highly recommend you visit their website, read the testimonials that are posted there every day. Here's a couple just from today. I just want to read a couple. This is about Marima Hernandez. She's thoughtful and professional. I have trouble feeling safe with therapists. They're either not professional and I feel judged, or they don't seem kind and caring. She is good at what she does, and I appreciate her help with getting me back to a healthy mental space so I can be the best version of myself. Here's one about Cheryl Blossom. Cheryl is so kind, and I can tell she genuinely cares about me. I send her messages throughout the week, and she always responds in a timely manner, so I know I am being heard. Check out the feedback on their therapist. They're world-class. Visit betterhelp.com/Fitzdog, Fitzdog. That's better, HELP, and join the over 2 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, they're recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. Special offer for Fitzdog Radio listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Fitzdog. Okay, let's get to it. My guest today has his own podcast called Alchemy This that we'll talk about. You know him from, ready for this? A Few Good Men, Grumpy Old Men, Grumpier Old Men, The Usual Suspects, Casino, Wayne's World 2, That Thing You Do, The Whole Nine Yards, The Wedding Planner, L.A. Story. He's on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He was on Mom. It just goes on and on. This guy's been in everything, and it's because he's so fucking talented. He's also my neighbor and my friend. He's got a pool, which makes me like him even more. And here's my chat I had with him last week. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Pollak. Welcome to my guest, Kevin Pollak, who just strolled in here in a pomegranate polo shirt. His beard.
Why polo?
Isn't that a polo shirt?
Because it's collared? Because it has a collar?
That is I believe, the vernacular for that type of a shirt. That's a polo shirt.
And what do we think that you know that?
I grew up on a golf course. I was upper middle class.
So your home overlooked the golf course?
Oh no, we belonged.
I see.
I mean, we weren't that. We were in upper class. We were upper middle class.
So golf course, not golf club.
No, golf club.
All right.
Yeah.
By the name of?
Knollwood Country Club, established in 1898.
So Jews were allowed in like last week. There's a place here in L.A., by the way, a friend of mine who plays my poker game tells me that women are allowed only once a week.
No.
Yep. Ladies get out there and protest. It's called Lakeside.
I've played Lakeside many times.
Yeah.
You know who's a member there is the great Joe Pesci, who I played golf with there.
Let me ask you a fucking question. You fucking horse's ass. Why would you want women there more than once a week anyways?
Yeah. Jews only allowed in quite recently.
Wow.
And women once a week. How do you even
Equate women and Jews? I know. Jews should be so much further along.
Well, we could vote sooner. Yeah, so basically a T-shirt, cotton. They throw a collar on it and a couple of buttons, and you call it a polo.
You call it a polo.
All right.
Now, a rugby would be if it had long sleeves.
And they taught you this at the golf course?
At the golf course. We had classes in the morning before we had the watch out for the Jewish guy lecture.
Seminar.
Yeah, the seminar. But there are also, I used to caddy. And see, here's the problem with my family.
Sure.
Is
the problem?
There were several. Mm-hmm. But one of the main ones that affected me was there was a cognitive dissonance, I think is the term, for when
Love it.
The reality was we had money, but in my parents' heads, they both grew up poor in the Bronx, so they spent no money and they gave us no money. So we went to the country club, but we were given no money to buy food at the snack bar.
So you had to work?
We had to caddy, and we would shag golf balls for the members. We'd go pick up their golf balls at the range, and then we would carry their golf bags. And
how old were you?
Oh, 12.
Okay, but you're learning.
It was great. It was great.
You're learning the pride of money in your pocket.
Yes.
That you put there.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
I think it gave me a really good work ethic.
My dad got my brother and I out on the golf course when we were 10 and 12. I was 10.
Caddying.
Golfing.
Oh, nice.
Not a country club, a public course.
Yep.
But I began my tutelage.
Do you play now?
I don't. I rose to the varsity golf team in high school.
As did I.
I was fifth man on a 5-man team.
Oh, you did it. You made it. You weren't the alternate. You don't want to be the alternate.
No, but worse, fifth man, because in my foursome was who? Do you remember?
I guess the alternates, right?
Nope.
Who?
Me and the fifth man on the opposing team, and our two coaches.
Oh.
So I would be in the coach's foursome.
And would he coach you?
He would cheat. Mr. Hammerness. I lost my ball in the woods, help me find it, and I would go help him, and he would drop a ball from his pocket.
The old Trump wedge.
Hit it, here it is.
Yeah.
He'd say.
Wow.
Yeah, great lesson.
I'd be shocked if actually I think somebody did report on Trump's cheating. But I think a guy wrote a book about maybe he was a caddy for him or something.
How's that a book?
Well, I think you can extrapolate into the other ways that he's cheated in his life, but you know.
I mean, that feels like chapter 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we open with. I saw him drop a ball from his pocket. And that's when I knew. Not that every construction firm in the greater New York area had lawsuits against the great golfer. It's because I saw him drop a ball.
So you started playing golf at 12.
10, my older brother was 12.
Was that a good experience with Dad?
No,
Was
it's
that like a
Saturday
bonding
morning.
thing?
Why am I not sleeping in? It's
right.
5 a.m. What's happening?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it wasn't like a bring you close to Dad kind of experience?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I look back, it was pretty cool that he did that. Also, I took my better half. She'd never been to Yosemite. We went there mid-July.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's from Pittsburgh and had never been. I hadn't been since I was a kid, which is the reason I bring it up, because my dad also brought my 2-year-old brother, just the two of us, as far as offspring from the parents. I guess you'd call us siblings. To Tuolumne River to fish.
Ooh.
Inside Yosemite Valley.
That's nice.
And ready-made tents. You know, you bring a sleeping bag on a cot kind of thing.
So the original glamping.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fond memory. I don't know about your memory of things that happened when you were 12. They are super foggy.
So foggy.
In terms of details.
Yep.
I can picture standing on a bridge with a fishing pole into the body of water below, snagging some trout.
Yeah.
that I'm convinced was just stalked.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I don't think these trout found their way to this stream. I think they were trucked in. From Truckee. But I have that memory.
Do they have a guy in a bear suit show up while you're camping in the tent at night?
Yeah. And weirdly, he would do like Jimmy Durante impressions in the bear suit.
And what did that sound like?
Hey, kid, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. I don't know.
A raw, 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 raw.
Yeah. That's some picnic basket. But I have that kind of memory, and I have the foggy memory of the prefab tents.
Yeah.
And the trip to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Uh-huh.
Don't get eaten.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
And so when I took Jamie is the name of my better half. When I took her to Yosemite 5 weeks ago, it was all very foggy. I mean, it's what you expect it to be and greater because the visuals are ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I also felt like, I guess it isn't that big of a deal that I don't remember what I did as a 12-year-old,
right,
10-year-old.
I do wish I had those memories. Like, I always feel bad because when people die, as they're starting to do now that I'm 55 years old,
sure,
and I'm asked to speak, and as a comedian, you are always asked to speak at funerals.
Yeah, what better time?
And what better time? Everybody else gets to enjoy crying and falling apart, and you're in the corner
or a nice
scratching.
Buffet.
Yeah, or a buffet, or actually having a conversation with the dead guy's brother.
You have stress.
You have stress. You're scratching away notes in the corner on a piece of paper, and
cranky in the car on the way there. Honey,
Yeah.
I can't. You know what? I don't care.
You're right. You're doing this to me now.
Yeah.
You're doing this to me now.
Yeah. This was the tie I found.
Is this funny?
Yeah. Why am I asking you?
And so, and I'm finding that I'm not the guy who goes, I remember what Jimmy said when we were I don't remember a word Jimmy said.
I can't picture my family around the dinner table having dinner as a kid, as a little kid.
Wow.
Gone. I only have so much RAM space, I realize. And I keep downloading my stories into Jamie's head because she's younger. And she knows all my bits and a lot of my stories.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
All right. Do you ever think maybe it's trauma? Did you have a traumatic childhood and you blocked it all?
My childhood was too easy.
It was just boring.
Yeah, it was boring.
It was the opposite of traumatic.
I think it was boring. I think the big disruption was Mom's meatloaf was just okay. That was the big trauma.
And you've gone to therapy for that.
I did have. I was sent to my room on occasion, and you folks out there, below a certain age, you don't know what it meant to be sent to your room. There was nothing to do in there. I was sent to my room to finish my vegetables, which I guess is a theory that might work.
Yeah.
I found a secrets box, a metal box that you would hold the lozenges in called secrets. Emptied those out and put the vegetables in the secrets box. And
that's not a very big box.
And carted those down just to the curb, or I dumped them in front of my own house. So not a great criminal.
No. And you had all that time to think about it with no distractions, and that was the best plan you came up with.
And that reminds me of the larger version of worst criminal ever. Did you ever go out and TP houses?
Naturally.
Sure. And what was the golden rule when you set out to choose where to TP?
Well, don't laugh while you're doing it.
A, but B, never TP your own street.
Right.
Ever.
Don't shit in your own backyard.
I mean, and we just got lazy.
Yeah.
And mean Mr. Mustard chased us down the house.
And you got caught.
Yeah, we got caught. Sure. What's he doing up at 4 a.m., by the way?
Yeah, right.
Asshole.
Me and my cousin Danny TP'd the house directly across. He grew up in Long Island. And we went across the street. We snuck out of the house, and we went across the street, and we TP'd the house. And then we came back to the house, and it was, like 2 a.m, whatever.
Sure.
We were like 11. And went to open the door, and it was locked.
Huh.
And the front door was locked. And we realized my uncle, who was an alcoholic, was up drinking, and he saw us, and he locked us out of the house for the night.
For the night?
Yes. We slept in a fort in the backyard that night.
Sure.
Which I thought, give them credits for not hitting us.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what the this'll show them was. You want to sneak out of the house, you better be prepared to stay out of the house.
Well, the danger of having to take a shit, not having toilet paper was not there. We were covered.
I mean, the house was covered.
Yeah.
You would have to go over and swipe.
We have to shit in
squares.
the tree. Yeah, you'd have to shit on the branch. Yeah, he used to call me badass after that, my uncle, up until the time he died. I was in my 50s, and he would still see me go, "How you doing, badass?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't let it go.
He was...
Were there other instances, or was that...
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of instances.
How many times have you headbutted someone?
I don't know that I ever headbutted anybody. No. Why, do I seem like that kind of guy?
Well, I'm just going with your uncle's version.
Yeah.
Badass. I had a friend recently tell me, I just asked him, what do you do in first move in a fight? He said headbutt.
Is he from England?
No, that's what I thought, but no. No, he said nobody sees it coming.
Yep.
And you pretty much break the bridge with their nose every time.
Oh, yeah. Fight's over.
Fight's over.
That's a nasty move, though.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I think because they're looking at your hands. They're waiting for the hands.
Sure.
And the head's right there. And so you get the thing that I learned in, I studied Krav Maga for a while.
How long are we talking for a while?
A year.
Ah.
That's enough.
Sure it is. You knew everything at that point.
Here's what I learned. The first rule in the first day of class was, if you get into a situation where you think there's going to be a fight, run.
Sure.
That's the first and second and third lesson of fighting. And so I did it, though, because I was in San Francisco, and our dear friend Molly Schmenk at the
Sure.
Punchline.
Sure.
We were coming from, they do that Palace Theater New Year's Eve show in San Francisco every year.
Yeah.
So we were coming from that. We had a van, and it was Molly, and it was Greg Proops, and it was Todd Barry, and I forget who else.
So it all fell on you, badass.
Yes. These guys are wearing suits.
With that group.
Yeah. And no, Paul F. Tompkins.
Again, it all falls on you.
So we get out of the van, and Molly's got a box with bottles of booze that we had backstage there, and we're now bringing to the Punchline because the after party's at the Punchline.
Copy.
And these tweakers, these San Francisco teenagers that have become very aggressive of late.
What year is this?
It was probably 10 years ago. And one of them grabbed a bottle of vodka from Molly.
Out of the box.
Out of the box. And I mean, these are badass looking kids.
Walking by, running by.
Walking by. And that's the beauty. They didn't even respect us enough to run after stealing the bottle. They meandered away from us after taking the bottle.
Did he say something like, yoink?
What's yoink?
It's a sound you make when you steal something in front of the person's face. Like, I'm taking this. I think it's from Scooby-Doo.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so they walk away. Molly puts the box down, and she goes after the girl that had stolen the bottle, and she grabs it. And now they are all looking at us. And when I say us, those guys stayed up the street. I ran down the street because Molly had chased them, and now it's me and Molly against 6 lunatic meth heads.
At what point does it cross your mind? It's a handle of vodka.
That's not even hers. It was owned by Bill Graham Presents.
Let it go.
Live Nation. They can write it off.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. And so so they're lining me up, and I'm pulling her, and by some miracle, we did not get killed. And then as we were walking away, one of them threw a blockbuster, a big M80 blockbuster, and it went off, and she lost her hearing in her ear for a long time because of it. And after that, I said, I need to know better how to handle, like if it had gone down, like what would be the right thing to do? So Krav Maga is street fighting. It's Israeli street fighting.
Right.
And so that was the most effective way. And one of the things they said was you always put your hands up like you're stopping them. Like hands up, like, hey, let's not do this. But what you're really doing is you're getting your hands real close for the neck punch. Right in the neck, right there.
Windpipe?
and then you run. That's if you can't run out of the gate. If you're forced to actually, engage, get the hands up.
And after a year, do you feel you could teach a few things?
I think I just did.
That's why I use the word few.
Have you ever been in a fist fight?
Yeah, but very young, and they lasted a very short time.
Yeah.
And I was not the victor. It was more or less, all right, I got called out after school. This is not going to go well.
But you saved face. You showed
I
up
always
and you
try
did
to
it.
joke my way out of everything,
Right.
including the face-off.
Yeah. When's the last time it got close to a fight? Have you been in a road rage incident or...
I don't think I've had a physical altercation with an adult ever.
But you seem like you have a little temper underneath it all. That's what I like about you.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I wouldn't call it hair trigger, but what's right behind hair trigger?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was having a conversation recently about how I'm a glass half filled guy and always have been. And it's probably from that sort of middle
it's
class.
Half full or half empty?
Half filled, half full.
Half full.
Yeah.
Well, half filled is...
Not a thing?
It's not a judgment of full or empty. It's just filled. So you're saying full.
Yeah. Well, if a glass is half filled, wouldn't it be half full?
No?
No?
Half filled is a designation. It's like
Would you fill this glass halfway, please? What happens? What do we got? What's the end result?
it's half empty.
It certainly is to you, but to me, it's half filled.
Okay.
So the half full glass mentality, what might have been from that middle class, boring sort of upbringing, that there was no real drama. So what's everybody upset about? Also, as California Jews, we were not whining constantly.
Yeah.
We were almost Catholic.
Right.
Reformed Jews, by the way. Catholic Reformed Jews.
Right.
So we had Christmas and Hanukkah.
Oh, really?
Because my parents were just, I'm not going to
Yeah.
explain to the 4-year-old why he's not getting a tree.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
That's how, we don't want any trouble here. My people were. So there's no physical altercations because I'm so not looking for trouble.
Yeah.
So when I get mad at it's like stupid shit because I'm a man,
Yeah.
but it's not, I'm going to kill that son of a bitch.
Right.
It's often someone should kill that son of a bitch, but it's not
gonna be
I'm
you.
gonna.
Right.
Yeah.
So wait, so you're saying out of boredom and suburban ennui, you have become angry?
No, I'm saying the reason I've probably not acted out from my near hair trigger
No, but where does the hair trigger come from?
Russian,
Oh, it's just
Belarus.
It's just in the DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw my dad do it. I saw my brother do it towards spin in a conversation. I would go to visit. He would spin away from me in the middle of a conversation because one of the 6-year-olds was being annoying,
Yeah.
And I just saw him unleash on the 6-year-old and went, wow, so you got dad's thing. All right, cool.
Yeah.
But then I hear myself do it every now and then, and it's clearly there, but I don't think it's right below the surface. I don't think it's waiting at all times to come out.
So you don't ever have to apologize to people later and say, "Hey, sorry, I really kind of snapped."
Occasionally,
Yeah.
but not. Yeah, it's not an ongoing. Should I lie down? I mean, I really am. My.
Hey, that's the kind of podcast this has become. I forgot to tell you before you came over. I've changed the tone of the podcast.
Yeah, my knee jerk is make a joke.
Yeah.
There should be a third option to the fight or flight,
Right.
which is funny.
Yes. That's true. Fight or flight or funny. That's good.
Yeah. According to Tim Allen, that's how he avoided trouble when he served time.
Inside the joint, that's how
for
he did it.
dealing cocaine.
He made people laugh.
He made people.
He did some serious time too, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
I think he did like 10 years.
No.
No?
I don't think so. I think it was like 18, 19 months.
Oh.
Yeah, but still, Anything over a year in pen
Yeah.
is serious time.
I did a weekend twice. I've done 2 weekends in the Slammer.
But county lockup.
Town lockup.
Sure.
Yeah. Not even a county.
Weekend.
Yeah.
Full blownsies, 2 nights.
One was my mother's fault.
Okay.
I went out and I got into a fight. I used to get into fights.
Sure.
And I was drunk in a bar at 16, and I got into a fist fight, and I got arrested, and I was thrown in jail. And my mother found out, and she said,
Let him sit.
"Let him sit." It was a.
So I'm sorry, you preface this with the first one. One of them was my mother's fault.
Well, she could have sprung me. I mean, come on. What is this, white heat?
So, no lesson to be learned from mom's decision?
I didn't seem to learn it because I spent another weekend after that.
How long after?
Years, probably 4 or 5 years later.
Well, she did pretty good.
Yeah.
She kept you out for a while.
Yeah.
Ed, did you ever have an opportunity to fill those shoes as a parent?
Have my kids been in jail?
A situation where you said, "Let them learn. I'm not going to hold their hand right now." Not as severe as
I don't think
town
so.
lockup.
They haven't gotten in big trouble. No.
They heard you called badass by an uncle and thought, "I'm not going that route."
Well, they also read my book. I wrote a book detailing all of these arrests and such. And so they sort of felt like they understand that it's supposed to skip a generation.
And was that mandatory reading because Pop would rather them learn from reading than doing?
That was them stealing the book off the shelf, and not off the shelf, in a box in the attic, because I didn't want them reading the book. And they went and got it, and they read it when they were probably about 14. And I didn't want them reading it till they were like 21. Because what they did then is they held it against me, and they constantly said, "Hey, you asked the only reason you got your prom date to go with you is you promised her a gram of cocaine." All right, fine. You can have a 6-pack at your prom.
Okay, first of all, you have more than one 14-year-old?
No, right now I have a college junior,
Sure.
DePaul University in
Very
Chicago.
pleased. And how did the Zoom education go last year?
Very poorly.
Sure.
It was a huge mistake. He should have taken the year off, and he should have gone to Hawaii and surfed and done online classes, or not done classes at all.
And for you, writing that online check?
Oh, $50,000 for him to sit in the garage and God knows what on the computer. That was it. $50,000. He learned nothing.
Did you approach the conversation of, "You sure you want to do this, buddy? You can take a year off"?
It all just rolled out so slowly because,
Yes.
he came home in March and we just thought that was going to be it and he'd be back in the fall. And
Sure.
then like a week before the fall started, they're like, "No, you're not coming back." And then it just it was all muddy. And now,
the check was due in August.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd already paid.
Yeah.
And there's no getting it back.
There's no getting it back.
So.
And he's missing his college experience. He's a junior and he has now spent a total of 3 months in classes and not online. So he got caught at a really bad time. So now he's back at school and he is in class as
Thrilled.
of Monday. Very thrilled. He'll meet some girls, meet some new friends.
Hopefully not need cocaine to get a date. Like the old man.
The old man came up a little short in the looks department. Drugs had to play their
Sure.
rear their ugly head. Did you go to college?
I did. I graduated in 9 months. My friends called it dropping out, but I was done. I went to the pristine San Jose State University.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow. What
Sure.
made you drop out? Comedy?
I was already performing, and someone had told me to get all the general ed classes out of the way.
Right.
So it seemed like high school with ashtrays. Mm-hmm. I had one class, TV and radio and film writing, that I loved and thrived, and everything else bored me to fucking tears.
Yeah.
And I'd been performing in little venues, like opening up for an acoustic duo or opening up for a cover band in a bar when I was 17, 18.
No shit.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What was the material like?
Just impressions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no actual material or point of view or voice.
Yeah.
Just, here's Columbo, whatever.
Right.
I don't even remember, honestly. But they were bits, for sure. I born late October, so I had a late birthday, which means I graduated as a 17-year-old.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the kids were 18.
Yeah.
But I had the late birthday. So I'm starting when I'm 17 after graduating high school. That summer before college. And I think I only applied to college because it was the thing to do.
Sure.
By the way, did not have parents who asked once, what are your plans? I'd been performing in school since what we called junior high.
Uh-huh.
I guess the kids later figured out, well, it's the school in the middle, so let's call it middle school. But in junior high, I started with performing at every occasion. Assemblies, folk festival, father-daughter dinner dance, whatever the fuck it was.
If there was a microphone, you got up there.
Yeah, by the way, Mike was a prop. I don't know if you remember, mine was a lip sync act from age 10 to 16.
I don't know if you remember.
I lip synced the comedy. Well, I assumed you'd read my book a few times. I lip synced a comedy album, a routine, a very famous routine from a very famous comedian who is now also very famous for being the single most prolific serial rapist from show business.
Wow.
But he had this routine, Noah in the Ark. He was very, very famous at the time.
Yeah.
So that was my act, to lip sync that from the age of 10 to 16 at all these various occasions. So by the time I was 16 to 17, I started doing impersonations and voices. And so then, yeah, this guy who is probably still an extraordinary big draw as a cover band lead singer, Joe Chirino, was dating one of my schoolmates, and I got an audition to open up for him when I was 17.
Uh-huh.
The audition was to go to his house. He was probably only 5 years older than me, but the idea that he had a house was crazy.
Yeah.
And I go to his house and audition for just him as he sat on his Mary Tyler Moore collection velour couch. I did 5 minutes to a guy smiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And only topped by, why don't you come up to the house and run the set before the show? Why don't you come up to the house and what a fucking mistake that was. I'd already booked the Tonight Show, and it was just panel.
Yeah.
But I knew Jay so well. He said, "Come," and he was, co-hosting, guest hosting. He said, "Come up to the house and run." And every time I would do, here's the opener, and I would do, this is, you asked me this, and here's my bit, because it was all in the guise of conversation on the couch. After every single one, I finish, punchline, crickets, followed by, so that normally works when you do it in a club? No, I'm sure it does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's happening? I drove home.
There's a confidence builder.
Am I meant to do comedy ever?
Wait, so Joe Trollovino?
Joe Chirino. So I perform in front of him in his velour couch, and he smiles all through it and says, great, open up for us this weekend. And I did
what kind of money was that?
Many shows. Probably $25, but I was a paid professional comedian.
Yeah.
And so the idea of going to college already sounded like a bad idea.
Right.
And then once I was in it, I realized I didn't see the point when my destiny had already been laid out. I was already opening up for Joe Chirino, for fuck's sake. What do you people want from me?
Right.
Grades?
Right.
To what end?
Yeah. And you could go to a middle management job application and just have the Cherovino. Maybe a note from Joe.
By the way, also didn't have parents who said, what are you going to fall back on? When I told them I was leaving college.
Jewish, isn't it?
That's the thing. As California reform, when I say we were basically Catholic, I mean, religion was a social gathering at the temple.
Right.
I was bar mitzvahed and did all the stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was social. It was not a strict religious upbringing in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So yeah,
So no dress code. Here's the thing about the Jews that I love, and I'm married to one, so I can say Jews, is if you're dating, you have to go like, well, this is my girlfriend. She's Jewish.
uh-huh.
And then you get married and you're like, what's for dinner, Jew? So, but I like the dress code. Like, depending on how seriously you take it, you have to look a little bit sillier. Just the little hat. It's odd, but it's no big deal, you know?
Yes.
And then you get the next guy's got the hair curls.
Yeah.
And then eventually the giant black, and it's like, no, you don't believe shit. Look at me.
Yeah.
I must believe in something better than this.
Yeah. Or organized religions of all kinds are pretty silly at some point.
But the outfits in all of them. I mean, if you think about like, what do you call the guys with the tambourines? The Krishnas?
Sure.
I mean,
that's a dedication.
That is a dedication.
Yeah, which should be respected more. Based on what you're saying, your position is suggesting, hey, we need to at least applaud the effort and the commitment.
Yes.
Instead of look at that freak.
Yes. This is faith. This is true faith that
would still it makes me laugh and raises a little ire when I hear people trying to be serious as they attack something like Scientology.
Yes.
Because it's a new religion.
Yeah.
Right? If there were cameras around at the beginning of all religions,
right.
Guess what?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff out of the Old Testament is really...
bonkers.
It's Token. It's J.R. Token.
It's bonkers. It is. It is. It is.
And
also the atrocities that this person was shouting at Scientology for, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, really? There's no atrocities in your religion?
Yeah.
What is your religion, by the way? Catholic?
I was raised Catholic.
Sure.
And I was a big believer. I was very into it. I loved God. I loved Jesus. I talked to them in my head all the time. And, and I found like a lot of joy in it. And then I took a high school class, and it was about, I went to a private high school because we were upper middle class. Mm-hmm. And it was about, so it was
private school caddy, they called you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But they made me, I was a janitor at the private school.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It was like Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah.
And they had a class, it was so progressive that it was a class that was debunking the Bible.
Dear Lord.
Can you imagine?
No.
And it was called The Bible as World Religion was the name of the class. And it showed how...
So the title doesn't really give it away that you're going to be debunking.
No. And so it showed you how every parable in the Bible could be found in previous, like, pagan scripts and, like, different... And the,
Yes.
So
that's what you remind me, because they're saying, but the whole religion of Scientology is based on this failed science fiction writer. Sorry, the Bible written 200 years after death? Yes. And they were just 200 years, not 20 years later, which would have been enough.
Right.
200 years.
And translated through how many languages? So from ancient Hebrew to modern Hebrew to Italian to English, and you're gonna sit in your fucking parish in Louisiana in a Bible study and tell me that the wording on gay men should not lay together is so specific that we need to like glean knowledge from it. Yeah. So anyway, this class rocked my world. It made me lose my religion, and I was really depressed from it.
Senior in high school? Junior in high school?
I think I was a sophomore. I think I was a sophomore in high school.
And the first reaction was depressed?
I was depressed.
Sure. I mean...
and I was angry.
I mean, I was happy in my religion at that age, too.
Yeah.
Because, again, it was social, so I felt I belonged to something.
Sure.
Yeah. And I still sort of, I guess, have that false pride of belonging to a tribe.
Do you belong to a temple?
Oh, God, no. No, I light the candles of the menorah for shits and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to a Passover gathering in decades.
No?
It's all on a need to care basis for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It holds no... I even lost the nostalgic grip of it, I mean, Thanksgiving is a thing for me because it's a great meal.
Right.
And Christmas is a great string of failures. To the point where I finally just said, you know what? Make a list for Santa. Just make a list. Make a list of every single fucking thing that if I didn't get, you'd be disappointed. And the rule is I'm not going to get everything on the list. So then the surprise element is, what did he get from the list?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just am the worst. I know you. I know what you want to wear.
Yeah.
To wear.
Right.
Do you buy clothing for your wife?
I do. I don't buy her jewelry. I always feel bad because my dad, because he was upper middle class, used to buy my mother nice jewelry.
But didn't make her clean it at the store as a job.
She had to wear it. She was a streetwalker, and she had to wear the jewelry, which was really, I got her a lot of dates, but no, it was, we're very practical. My family has, I think it's a difference in when our dads grew up, you didn't have to make $400,000 a year just to break even in a town like LA. Like you could make 30 grand a year and belong to a country club.
Yes. In their day, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Our house was $17,000.
Yeah. And health insurance was negligible. It was like $50 a week.
It wasn't even something somebody mentioned.
Yeah. It wasn't talked about.
That's how nothing it was.
And so, we have to live a very different life on probably the same earnings. I probably make the same as my father made.
Uh-huh.
Adjusted.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, based on income and outcome.
The outcome is much larger and the income is the same. Yeah. So we are forced to live like middle class people.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot of measuring bars in terms of those that existed from my childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your parents take you on vacations?
Modest ones, driving vacations.
Yosemite once.
Well, Dad took my brother and I fishing, but vacation, we would drive from Northern California to San Diego and go to the zoo and come through Disneyland and that kind of thing. But was there a Hawaii? I think we went to Hawaii once, where there was an actual flight involved.
That's it.
I think.
What'd your dad do for work?
My dad designed and sold kitchens for Sears and Roebuck for 30-something years. And in his day, he would be on the showroom floor. You would come in and you would say, we're looking to design or redo our kitchen. He would go to your home with you. He would take notes. He would come back to the house and he'd be up to all hours at his drafting board, drafting and drawing what would look like one of those kitchens of the future with the shine glimmering off the floor. Yeah. One of those drawings from the 60s.
Yeah.
Like he was designing Disneyland or something. Which is why sneaking in and out past Dad was really difficult. Because he was always up at the draft table.
Right.
But he did that.
That's kind of interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool also. But he was not a talker. And not that I ever sensed he was making an effort not to share. It seemed like raising a family and all of it was also on a need to care basis for him. He didn't have outside interests, nothing pulling him away. He'd be happy to, have a cocktail and pass out in the easy chair in front of the TV every night.
Right.
That was fine with him.
Did he have a poker night? Did he have buddies?
He did have a poker night, which was the most exciting thing for me and very difficult to try to get to sleep at night. Because I would listen to the roar of that game.
Yeah.
When it happened. And I've been hosting my own game for about a little over 10 years since we got the house not too far from here, which we've discussed. I could have walked here, but I am not legally allowed because it's Los Angeles. So I drove. So when I got that house, I decided I was going to host my own game. And so which you've invited me to, and I thank you. I have, and I'm sure you still kind of want to go.
Well, I wanted to go until I think I found out the stakes.
From an outside source?
No, I think we discussed it. Mm-hmm. I think...
Yeah, it's all relative.
We talked about me coming and playing in your game.
Yeah.
And then I said, that'd be great. I'd love it. And then you called me up and you said, we're playing tonight. And I said, by the way, what's the...
This probably happened over text, but go ahead.
What's the small and the large or whatever they call it in Texas Hold'em? And
yeah,
you told me.
I wish you would use that terminology earlier.
Then you would know.
Is it the small and the large? You mean the big blind and the little blind? The small and the large. Then I would have said, yeah, don't come. Because I don't want friends to get hurt.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And it's still small stakes in the grand scheme of a L.A.
This isn't like a Ben Affleck game.
No way, shape, or form. And there are smaller games and there are a lot larger games. But I sort of designed and curated mine so that no one would ever really get hurt during the course of a night. If we played every week, there'd be a collection of maybe 20 guys, first come, first serve, to fill its 9 seats. Eight including me, 9. So in other words, it's mostly the same people. So the money is just kind of moving around the table. No one is winning every week and no one is losing every week.
See, because we have a game and ours is like, it's silliness.
$40 buy-in?
It's like, it's a $40 buy-in. How did you know that?
It's written all over your...
My dad, it would have been a $300 buy-in, but the times have changed, Kevin.
$300 buy-in for your dad back in the 60s and 70s?
Well, back when, I'm just saying he had more disposable income now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I don't have, but our game is silly. It's like we play a little bit of Texas Hold'em. Sometimes we don't play Texas Hold'em at all, and we just play like,
Follow the Queen?
Follow the Queen, low spade in the hole.
That's Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago.
Actually, high spade is Chicago, low spade
is
Cincinnati.
Chicago. Are you sure about that?
Might be vice versa. It's been so long since I played mixed games like this.
Yeah, so we just play a lot of mixed games. And
Chicago was anyways.
And so, and everybody's high.
Anaconda 3, 2, 1, pass to the left.
Yeah, pass to the left. We love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a horseshit game that is.
It's such a horseshit game.
But it's super fun.
Yeah.
It's super fun, and I'm sure fellas are having a great time.
And have you heard of 727?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, we play 727.
Also known as 7.5, 27.5. Picture cards are halves.
Oh, 7.5 beats 7?
Yes, well, because it's right on the number.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then the other decision to make is, can you go over?
Right.
And I've played both ways.
We usually play, you can go over, but under beats over.
Nice.
Like a 6.5 beats a 7.5.
I love that there's rules, but we're going to be very strict about the under is superior to the over in our horseshit made up little game. Well, you got to have rules. Come on. Can't have chaos.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we should only be playing one game because everybody in the game has ADD and everybody's high. So getting through one round can take 5 minutes.
I will play in the World Series of Poker main event again this year.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Now, do you have to earn your way into that through smaller games, or they just select you?
Well, it's a $10,000 buy-in to the main event.
So you're giving them $10,000.
So I get a sponsor. I sell the hat. I sell the logo on the shirt.
Oh.
I'm patched up like a NASCAR driver.
And who's your sponsor?
The Chive. It's a phenomenal website that has sponsored me the last several years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they give you $10,000. That puts you in the tournament. And then if you win, you keep the money? Or you give it to charity, or you give it to the Chive?
Why the fuck would I give it to charity? I mean, I give money to charity.
Yeah.
But not from this.
Not from this.
This is the World Series of Poker main event. This is the big time.
And
in terms of and I've finished in the money 2 out of 6 attempts.
Yep.
Which
I know you made $56,000 one time.
I don't remember the exact number.
It was
52,418.
Yeah.
And our friend Sam Levine says because I've finished in the money 2 out of 6, that means I'm batting .333, which is first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Now.
So what's the most you can make in this?
Well, you win the whole thing, and I think you win between $7 and $10 million. But
no shit.
Sure. Absolutely. It's all on ESPN. I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
No, I try to watch some of the personalities drive me away.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the guys getting camera time
Right.
because of those personalities.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've got the sunglasses on, and
It's a real grind, though. It's 12 hours a day with some breaks.
for how many days?
Exactly. It all depends on how long you last.
Ah.
Because it's a tournament of this nature, you lose your chips, you go home.
Yeah.
There's no rebuy. So you start with enough chips to play conservatively and get through day one quite easily,
Right.
unless you run into some serious bad luck. And then you don't really make the money till the end of day 3, beginning of day 4, mostly the beginning of day 4. So those are 3 12-hour days. And the blinds go up, the large ones, as you call them, pretty slow, like every couple hours. But if you get toward the middle of day 3 and the end of day 3, they're so high that you better have advanced your chip stack
Right.
to survive.
In other words, if it's the large, you have to put in whether $5,000 or $10,000 just to play the hand. That's just
When the big blind comes
You can't
to you,
check.
it rotates.
you have to pay it.
Yeah, the blinds come around for the big blind and the small blind. They rotate player to player and go around the table.
Yeah.
So it's your turn. And the latest thing is they'll add an ante. And so when you have the big blind now, you also have to ante for the table. But then there's that everyone else antes for you, those other hands, as it goes around the orbit.
So you take turns. One person antes each round, and
Yeah,
it takes
the big
turns.
blind.
Right.
But that, you could have 40, 50,000 in chips in front of you, but the big blinds and the antes when it comes around to you is going to be 3,000. So suddenly you're looking at, well, that's a serious chunk of what I have here. So you have to, it's the most stress I've ever felt, ever. There's been no show business experiences, and there's been plenty of those
Yeah.
that come close to the stress of being in a hand, feeling in every fiber of your being that you're ahead, but your opponent is such that they challenge that faith and belief by putting you all in. If you want to call based on your belief, and you don't have the nuts, you don't have the best hand, you have, through the course of this particular hand, what you believe based on how you've observed this opponent for hours. That's the reason for the stress level. Even when you're not in a hand, which for me is most of the time, you're observing your opponents and gathering intel on every hand.
You're learning the way they play.
Yeah, because when you play with friends on a weekly basis, this person's a nit or a tight player. Mm-hmm. This person will play every hand because they just like action. Mm-hmm. And so you start to gauge the whole thing. When people come to play in my game or play in any game, I would tell them the first piece of advice, the most 101 aspect, is it doesn't matter what you think is a good hand, whether in terms of how much you should be betting. All that matters, all that you need to figure out is what your opponent thinks is a good hand on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because what they think is a good hand dictates how you play against them,
Right.
what your position is in the hand. So when that situation rises, when you know you're ahead, I remember when I had my deep run in 2012 and made it. When you start there, at that year, there were 3 day ones. There's so many players. There's not one day one of over 2,000 players. There are 3 day ones because there's only so many tables I can set up in various ballrooms, more or less, at the Rio. So in the beginning, there's 3 day ones. You can't even see all the tables. But when I finished, I could see the remaining 14 tables.
Wow.
So to say I finished 134 out of 6,500 people is kind of impressive.
That is pretty impressive.
But to see the last 14 tables of the whole damn tournament was mind-blowing.
And this is a combination of celebrities and professional poker players.
No, I'm the only celebrity who's ever made it that far.
Really?
Other than Gabe Kaplan, who won the thing back when there were only a few hundred or maybe 300 or 400 players. But in recent years, Ray Romano plays every year. Jason Alexander plays every year. Now, Jennifer Tilly is the one outlier because she's a pro at this point.
Yeah.
She's won a tournament. She turned to poker playing, and she is about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, she's brilliant. She's played in my home game, but I think, it was just sort of fun to have her there and fun for her to hang out. But I still watch her play on TV all the time. She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But has she had a deep run in the main event? I don't know that she's made it as far as 134. There was a guy 2 years ago who said he was a New York comedian. I've never heard of him. I Googled him, and I still have never heard of him.
What's his name?
I don't even remember. You could probably look it up. And he went deeper than 134, but I wouldn't call him a celebrity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jason Alexander, for example, has never made it to day 3, let alone anywhere near the money. Romano's made it to day 3, but
What about Ben Affleck?
he's never finished in the money.
Is he the good one, or is it Matt Damon that's the
They're
good
both good. Ben Affleck, I think, has gone further. Ben Affleck won the L.A. There's a big Commerce has a big L.A. event on the World Poker Tour. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's ever had a deep run at the World Series of Poker.
Okay.
Main event.
Yeah.
That's the sort of.
And when does that start?
This year it will start on November. Well, my day one is, there are now 4 day ones. It's so many people playing. My day one is the 4th day one, which is on November 7th.
Yeah. I'm going to watch.
Well, it won't air, I think, until, well, there'll be a few ways to watch this year. Usually what happens is when it airs on ESPN, it's a few months after the fact.
Yeah.
But they've stepped up their game and they're airing some tournaments live with like a 30-minute delay.
Yeah.
But you may have to search to find out where. I don't think it's all on ESPN anymore. I think
Right.
It's been moved to poker apps and stuff like that.
I should have you to our shit game. Would you play in our shitty game one week?
It's really tough to go back.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I would certainly have a hilarious, fun time.
That's the point. Yes.
Yeah, but the poker would drive me insane.
Yeah, it would. It's slow.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a long time famous poker game in L.A., Norby Walters? Norby Walters. You ever been invited to Norby's
No.
game? It's a 1-2 Texas Hold'em, but the blinds are 1-2, $1, $2, which means everyone calls every bet.
Right.
Because it's not really about that. But it's the who's who of a lot of older, like I saw Don Adams there, or Charles Durning, Sid Caesar in the last couple of years of his life.
This isn't the one that like Carson and Newhart and those guys all played.
That was a different game. That was like Johnny's game.
Yeah. You never played in that.
No, Steve Martin told me about it. He played in it back in the day, and Chevy Chase played in it. That was like a home game that they just played in.
Yeah.
Norby likes to gather show folk.
Yeah.
And I will tell you one fun story from it. I'm sure, like myself, Get Smart was a watershed for you as a show.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buck Henry and Mel Brooks. I mean, the writing was just perfect. If you were starting to develop your sense of humor, it was an anomaly in terms of what a sitcom was. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so I grew up, Don Adams, the star of Get Smart, was a comedy god.
Sure.
So at this gathering, so we've got, let's see, Sharon Stone, Mimi Rogers, myself, I think Charles Durning. I'm trying to remember who else. Eric Roberts, and eventually Don Adams shows up, and he's late. We've been playing probably an hour, and he enters walking so slowly it just breaks your heart instantly.
Yeah.
I think he might have only lived another 6 or 8 months. It was definitely towards the end of his life. And moving so slowly and Sharon Stone was sitting next to me, and we had done Casino, and we were, friendly to the point where she could reach over and squeeze my knee with excitement when Don Adams walked in and whispered to me, "You don't understand. The name of my production company is Chaos. I worship this guy."
No shit.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So Don Adams comes in, and there's a few hellos, of course. He sits down, he plays, and he doesn't speak. He doesn't say anything. He's not really chiming in, which is what the game is clearly about. for a couple of hours. And again, it's kind of heartbreaking that he's not engaging. Forget even he's not funny. He's just not engaging.
Yeah.
He's playing. So it's announced that Eric Roberts has to leave. He's got an early morning flight. He says goodbye to everyone. I think he goes around the table and kisses everyone on the top of the head. Very sweet guy. And he says, sorry, I have to leave early. He leaves. Now, this is a dealer's choice situation, which I'm sure your game is too, based on what you've told me, which for the listeners means that the deal, who deals the hand, rotates right to left around the table. And when it was finally Don's turn to deal, maybe a half hour had gone by since Eric Roberts had left. And it's finally Don's turn to deal. And he stands up to deal. He's always been a short in stature fellow, probably like you and I. And he leans over a little bit so that he can reach around this table to deal everyone their hand. And he's dealing as slowly as he walked in originally. And while he's dealing super slowly, he finally speaks. And he'd, again, been there a couple of hours. And he says, as he's dealing, is it just me, or is Eric Roberts actually better looking than his sister? Now, he went from sad old guy to diabolically brilliant.
Yeah.
How long had he been sitting on that?
Yeah, right.
Why not say at the moment Eric leaves?
Yeah.
He waited till he stood.
Oh, that's great.
He was a stand-up originally.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
he
he
did.
I think a comedy album, but he definitely did appearances. Yeah, still the heart and soul of a stand-up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were in third grade, we used to play Chaos and Control in the playground.
Yes.
I was always on Chaos.
It was so great.
The Control kids would try to catch us.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, just the cone of silence, that
never worked.
That never worked.
Yeah. Who's the one agent that just would show up like inside of a toaster or behind
Oh, right.
And then one of them was a robot, Jaime.
Jaime.
Do you remember that actor's name? He was a really good-looking guy, like from the George Hamilton School.
Mm.
First actor I ever saw when I got out to L.A. from San Francisco at some audition, and I just screamed, Jaime! Some of you probably thought I was making a Jew joke.
Yeah. All right, well, listen, before you go, I want to...
And I am.
There's a couple things I want to hit on my script.
Oh.
I've written a script.
Jesus. Okay, let's...
All right. I read in an interview you did recently that you have new jokes that you keep in your notes app on your phone.
You want
I'd
one?
like you to
you want one?
Go to that now and give us one.
They're not really...
They're ideas.
Yeah.
They're rough sketches
like
Picasso would make.
Well, thank you for the comparison, and we do share a birthday. I keep notes.
Yeah.
You do not do this?
I do. I do that.
I'm not disciplined enough to sit down and write out a routine anymore.
Right.
So I just write down ideas.
Uh-huh.
Does a serial killer at some point also move on to almond milk? Is what I'm looking at here.
Because if you're not staying current,
It just, yeah.
You don't want to be seen as like the old time serial killer, Son of Sam. You want to be seen as a guy who's...
The idea is you're crazy, you're psychotic,
Yeah.
you're a sociopath.
All right.
Do you also have the moment where you go, I guess I got to do almond milk now? Is there ever that sane of a math problem? Is really what I'm after.
Yes.
I'm after that.
Right.
Is that good?
One more.
One more? Really? I guess I have to do it another way. This is what the problem when you're 112. I'm not good with insects. I'm not afraid of them. I don't know why you would think that. My issue is I don't feel great about killing them. If there's an easy way to show them the door, I'd rather do that because I'm a weirdo. They're like a guest leaving my home. I don't, and it's
You don't want to usher them out. They're a guest, you know?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll just open the door, assuming they know what that means. Yeah.
I've always felt like a humanitarian when I have done that because there are times where I get the newspaper and I'm able to shoo something outside. Yeah. And especially in front of my kids, I feel like now I've taught you a life lesson. Yeah. All living things have value.
Yeah. And so it is funny how sometimes if I'm even barely inconvenienced, they've crossed the line and now they have to die. And as I'm stepping on them, I'll say, "You happy now?"
You had to push it. You had to push it.
This is on you. I'll sleep tonight. You're dead.
You had to sit on the TV screen.
Yeah. If you're a spider, don't come near my face. What's the matter with you? Now you're not being shown the door.
We were cool.
Yeah.
Now you're dead.
Yeah. You've got the whole house where my face isn't. You chose to dangle in my face. Good night. Good night, good sir.
That's good.
You're done for.
All right. I want you to work on that one.
Okay.
Are you doing much stand-up these days?
No, I looked forward to it. I did a couple during COVID where I had these big corporate one-nighters.
Sure.
And I just convinced them to do it as a Q&A.
Yeah.
So they had a moderator, and I gave them, here's research links. No matter what question you ask me, I'll get to a bit.
Right.
Because my bits are mostly stories.
Yeah.
And even what I just said is easily worked into my real life because it's based on it.
Right. Right.
It wouldn't be too hard, other than the serial killer thing. I don't really write abstract thoughts like that, where it's joke. But when I do, I don't know why it feels like the most important thing in the world to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of comedy you see today. When you see like Bill Burr and people that are really explode, it's a rant, it's a point of view, it's an essay.
Yeah.
And that seems to be like what a lot of people... But like to me, just still writing a hard joke, coming up with a silly concept like that and having punchlines to it, that just still feels to me like what I want to do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I feel when I do that in front of a younger audience that I'm not convinced they agree.
Yes.
With the setup, premise, and joke.
I was at a barbershop last night. It's so hipster. It's a barbershop that has a bar behind it.
Perfect.
In Venice, and then they and it's all young 20-somethings, and I'm up there doing my punchlines. And they really do. They really just look at you like...
Why are you not telling us your life story?
Yes.
Where's the confessional stuff?
Yeah. How come you're not embarrassed in this joke?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Do you think we're fools? Yeah. We don't believe what you're saying. You clearly made this shit up.
Yes.
And we're not buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The subtlety of sarcasm is gone.
Sarcasm and also... there being like a context for irony I didn't really mean that racist thing I just said. I'm making fun of the fact that some people think like that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work in the barbershop rooms.
Wow.
No.
Yeah. That's concerning to me. The few times I've experienced it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to qualify. These are just thoughts I'm having, folks. None of this shit actually happened to me.
Well, that's the thing is when they push back on it, I just push back harder.
Yeah, you got to hold. Yeah.
And I go, no, this is the way it works. And I've got another 12 minutes. Mm-hmm. All right, well, listen, so much to talk about. You've got Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. When's the next season of that come out?
Season 4, we shot from January to July. It was great to be able to go back to work.
Yeah.
And it drops in December, which is all I'm allowed to say. I can't give an exact date.
And are they shooting another season after that?
Yeah, we go back in January.
Unbelievable.
It is.
I mean, to have a show not air yet and already be picked up for another season is rare.
Yes. Yeah. Truly rare. This whole experience of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel has been the winning lottery ticket that I didn't think was out there waiting for me.
Right.
And when it showed up, I instantly knew. Because the pilot of the thing was so impressive that Amazon picked it up to 2 seasons from pilot.
No kidding.
Yeah. So knowing that there was a second season while shooting the first season was helpful, certainly to relax one's sphincter.
Yeah.
But also when we were making it before the series aired, the idea was, well, the Jews on the Upper West Side are going to like this show.
Yeah.
Maybe the Upper East Side.
Right.
But I don't know about the rest of the country, let alone the rest of the world. So the fact that it has entered and somehow maintained its life in the zeitgeist is inexplicable
Yeah.
to me. Also, if I were to ask you, what are you watching these days? There's a chance that there's a few shows we're both watching or both familiar with, but there's also a chance now that there's something I've never even heard of.
Mm-hmm.
You pass a billboard in L.A. and it says, Season 3 drops for The Sphincter.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is The Sphincter?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of this thing. It's on its 3rd season?
Right.
That's, I feel, a fairly new phenomenon.
Yes.
So to break through that noise
Yep.
of over 700 scripted shows now
Right.
is that lottery ticket, winning ticket thing that...
Well, winning the awards is what does it.
20 Emmys in 3 seasons. You know what? It's not a competition, Greg. I don't know why you felt the need.
And you've won a Golden Globe? Did you win a Golden Globe?
Yeah, the show
2?
has, and Rachel Brosnahan has won a couple, but we won the Screen Actors Guild Award Best Ensemble 2 years in a row.
Nice.
Last 2 years. So I personally got to bring home some hardware.
And you have that on your mantle?
A couple of them. They don't sit as high as your 3 Emmys, but...
Oh, you noticed.
I noticed when they signaled ships at sea through the window.
Come on, they're pretty high up.
They're phenomenal.
My mom's got the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got this impeachment American Crime Story, which I can't fucking wait for that. That's going to be, what an insane cast.
Yeah, the cast is pretty phenomenal. I don't know much about it. I was in 1 episode.
Okay.
So, I mean, I imagine it's going to be pretty glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's. I guess it comes out soon. I don't know. I saw a trailer.
Yeah.
I somehow made the trailer. Again, I'm in it very little, but
you're the kind of guy they put in a trailer, even though you're not in
I
a
made
lot.
the cut of a 90-second. Hey, look at this.
Well, Billions you were in. Love that show.
I just saw a trailer last night about it. About Billions coming back.
Yeah.
Because apparently, it got shut down because of COVID, and it's coming back. A lot of shows are coming back.
Oh, it got shut down. Yeah.
Like
there's
mid-season.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows that I've been dying for the next season of, and I know
Succession.
Succession is at the top of that list.
Yeah.
And then I just saw that. There's a show that I love that's got a new season coming out.
Ted Lasso.
Not a Ted Lasso fan.
Didn't do it for you.
No.
Too sweet.
Too sweet.
Yeah. Physical. You watching Physical?
No. What's that?
Amazing.
Really?
Truly amazing.
Okay.
That might be an Apple Plus thing.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal.
Did you see Real People? The Irish drama?
Tell me more.
It's about a young couple. They're high school. She's a loser in high school who gets hotter later, and they have a one-night stand, but she's low class, he's high class. They hide it. Then they both end up at Trinity in Dublin, and it's just the acting, the characters. It is
Where do you
sublime.
watch this thing?
I believe it's on Hulu.
And it's called Real People.
Real People.
I will look it up. Look up Physical.
Okay, we've done each other a service this morning. Also, DC's Injustice. You played the Joker.
That was fun. It's an animated film.
Yeah.
One of these superhero movies. But apparently it's also based on a video game, which is the reason it's being highly touted and highly anticipated.
Right.
But to play the Joker as a complete and utter lunatic from
Yeah.
the get
Yeah.
was a child in a sandbox.
Really?
Yeah, just bizarre, ridiculous. In order to make those sounds, you have to contort into a microphone with headphones in a little booth in a non-reality setting that you're either able to give in to
You have to let go completely.
the
and just go for
physicality
the
of
ride.
what you're
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
It's a little intimidating because as much as we've all performers suffer from "hey, look at me" disease, but I mean, it's human nature. That's why Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar company, is that everyone's got a page.
Yeah.
So there's someone. So everyone's, I have a theory, suffers from "hey, look at me" disease. But to suffer that badly, but also be very sort of shy and introverted when it comes to being yourself.
Right.
So when you walk into that booth and there's people on the other side of the glass who are watching you,
Yeah.
and now you're just going to be a complete loon.
Yeah.
In order to create voices and you know, everything that comes out of a complete lunatic's brain.
I think especially stand-ups, because
Yes.
you're at heart a stand-up.
Right.
We are very in control, and to get
You
to
hit it.
be
You
the
hit
Jim
it.
Carrey is the aberration to that.
You
know?
hit it. The
Yeah.
lack of control. I mean, I have to lose control of my faculties
Yeah.
in order to do this in front of you behind the glass.
Right.
Enjoy. But it ended up being fun once you were let go and you're in a private setting and you feel protected
Yeah.
from anyone ever seeing how ridiculous you're being.
And when's that come out?
I don't know. But people who are interested do know
Yeah.
already, I'm sure.
All right. And then that's it. And then Covenant House, it's too late to donate money to
Never
Covenant
too
House.
late.
Never too late.
Never too late.
You slept outside
Get
one
homeless
night?
kids off the street, please. And that's what it's about.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is about the kids out there
Yeah.
who for various myriad reasons have no home. Let's get them off the street.
And none of which is their fault.
That's right. Never, ever, ever. And also, I would just mention the all improvised comedy podcast.
Oh, right.
Called Alchemy This.
How come me this?
Yeah, pretty. It's been a comedy outlet for me all through pandemic. That if you are interested in all improvised, sketches, scenes, where the scenes are suggested by listeners, and
Right.
it's a great group out of the West Side Comedy Theater. I know you've performed there.
Sure.
And I just saw the improvisers at various different shows and thought, no, I'm going to handpick 5 of them, and we're going to do this. So we've been doing it a couple of years on iHeart, and it's fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alchemy This.
All right.
This is a joy, and I'm glad you reached out and said it's time for the annual sit.
It's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for responding. Thanks
Sure.
for hanging out. And, if it was hotter out, I'd say let's go to your pool right now. But, maybe in the next couple of weeks if we get a little hot weather.
You're welcome anytime. I understand you moved from the area, though. Is that right?
To Venice.
Oh, so
Yeah.
still in the area.
Still in the neighborhood.
Great.
Yeah. I used to be blocks from you. Now I'm 1 mile from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're only a couple miles from the actual beach itself.
Yeah. I'm 1 mile from the beach exactly.
And do you feel that's as close as you can get to be safe?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's about the perimeter. And we are, like, people talk about, when I say to people around the country I'm from Venice, like, people just are, oh my God, yeah, there's homeless people, but you know what, I'm from New York. It's like, it's just not that big a deal.
Right.
There's people and you try to help them out. You do what you can. You give them some change. You buy somebody a sandwich. You work at the soup kitchen. You buy some groceries and you drop them off. You just get involved. You don't sit there and go, this is an assault on me.
Yeah.
You say, what's going on? This is our problem. How do we deal with this? And I'm not afraid that it's in my backyard. It's just, it's fucking life. Deal with it.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, all right.
Great to see you.
All right. We'll see you next year.
Yeah. Next year. I'm excited for next year.
All right.
And to come back here.
I can't wait to see what's in the notes file for next year.
It's in Greg. It's Greg, right?
Fitzsimmons.
Okay. Yep.
Greg Fitzsimmons.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Not
Just
Proops.
wanted to-
Okay. Yeah.